Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mindset Teaching Outside the Box. We're your hosts, Jillian Willie
and Eileen Edwards.
And today we're going to be talking about another of the universal laws, the law of deliberate creation.
So Jillian and I have actually been reading The Law of Attraction, the basic teachings of Abraham, yes, by Esther and Jerry Hicks. And in here, they actually define the science of deliberate creation, that which I give thought to, and that which I believe or expect is, which is really the definition behind what we're going to be talking about today. In short, you get what you're thinking about, whether you want it or not. Thoughts become things.
Yeah, this is manifestation. This is going to break it down for us. And I know we had another episode where we talked about the steps of manifesting. So some of that might come back today too. And we might reiterate some of that. But today we really want to focus on how this works and really understanding what manifesting is and how we are manifesting, whether you realize it or not. So that's why the law is called the law of deliberate, or the science of deliberate creation, because you're creating your world every single second of the day. So why not create it on purpose and choose what you want to show up for you? So that's why we wanted to talk about this today.
Yeah, we create it by default. It's going to happen whether we choose to or not. And so, yeah, it's better to be deliberate about it.
Yeah, and this comes after, excuse me, last week we talked about the law of attraction. So that is the most powerful, because you need to understand that foundation of your vibration. But now that we've talked about that, the next law that comes into play here is the law of deliberate creation. So whatever you think about is what's going to show up for you. Now, that does not mean that if you take like 2 seconds or, like a minute or something, and you think about something and then you let it go, that doesn't mean it's going to show up for you. It's when you think about something over and over and over again, or the more energy that you're giving to a thought, that coupled with the feeling of whatever it is that you're thinking about, that's what's going to bring it to you. So it is a little bit more complex, it's not like if I sit here and say like, oh, think about my water bottle spilling on my computer, and then I never come back to it. It doesn't mean that's going to happen. Okay, there's a little bit more to it. But if I every single day when I sit down at my computer think about, oh, my water's going to spill on my computer, and then I feel, oh my goodness, I'd have to buy a new one, and I give like all this energy to it, then yeah, I'm drawing that to me, because the universe is basically a Xerox machine. Like, the universe tells you yes for anything that you say that you want or that you put out there, which I shouldn't say what you want, I should say what you put out there, because even things you don't want, you can, which we'll talk about, you can bring to you and manifest. But anything that you are thinking about, the universe just says, okay, sure, because the universe wants to make you happy. The universe wants to give you what you think about. So gotta be really careful about what we're thinking.
Yeah, it works on whatever we're thinking about. And the direction of our thought, even though we probably don't think this way, the direction of our thought is our choice. It really is. It's just not something that we're used to thinking about in that way.
It's a paradigm. It is something, and it's a skill. Because you're right, Eileen, we are not taught outwardly that we have complete control. We hear all the time, I don't have control over how I feel about this. It's just how I feel. Well, that's not true. You can control how you react, and that's going to control your feelings. So yeah, let's just say I'm going with my water bottle here. Let's say my water bottle does fall on my computer. Typically before I know that I have control of my thoughts, I would let my ego take over and say, oh my goodness, this is awful. And I would start thinking about how terrible this is and all the bad things and how I have to spend a ton of money on a new computer. I've lost everything, whatever. Or I could train myself to say, you know what, that's good. And just find the good in it, because now I get a new computer, and anything that I needed, I'll have. It's okay. If I lost it, it doesn't matter. I didn't need it anyway, like just finding the good in the situation rather than the bad. So we do have control over our thoughts, and our thoughts are what dictates our feelings.
Yes. And the deliberate creation has two parts. And what I found interesting about this is not so much that there's two parts to it, desire and allowing, that idea of launching a thought and the expectation of it. What I found interesting is that those two things actually happen simultaneously. And so I feel like I should say that again. The desire and the allowing, so the thought and the expectation of it, happen simultaneously. So that kind of was an aha for me, because I was like, oh, that could be why things kind of can kind of go south so quickly sometimes. Those like things kind of happen like at the same time. That was like a big aha for me.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it's something that I think at first it can feel overwhelming because it is so powerful. And when we first find out about this, the instant reaction, at least it was for me, was, oh my goodness, I need to like get the hang of this. And I've seen videos of people who tell people, don't worry about it, relax. And it's true, you don't want to stress yourself out about, oh my goodness, my thoughts are attracting bad things, or I'm manifesting bad things, because then that's what you're focusing on. So, starting small, and I think we talked about this last week too. If you've got something big going on, something you're used to thinking negatively, or maybe you have depression or anxiety or something, take it small. You don't have to change everything at once. But if you can start slowly changing your thoughts to positives and to things that you want, and just keep practicing and practice and practice, then it'll just become second nature. It'll become a habit or a paradigm, and you'll be able to consciously create what you want a lot easier. But just like anything, it's something you need to practice, and every little bit counts. So even if you can't change every single thought at once, because it is a skill, just start small and you'll find that it'll be easier and easier and easier. And a suggestion for that, and I think again I said this last week, trying just to observe your thoughts, because that's the first step. Once you can become aware of the thoughts you're thinking, then you can start deciding, do I want this thought or not? And try to start consciously thinking about what you want, because we don't have to let our outside world dictate what we think about. Our reality is just from the past. So what we see today was created in the past. So we have the power today to create our future.
Yeah, very important. I was thinking about what I had said, that idea that there's no gap between what we are desiring and what we expect. And I think this is part of the difficulty of almost like the human condition. It's like it comes and it's like instantly expected. Like I think for me, more negative things come up than positive. In that case, I'm thinking, we're thinking something, we're desiring something to be so, and our expectation is kind of coming in at the same time. Even if we aren't thinking that we're desiring it, we're putting those things out into the world, whether we want to or not. And so I think it is really important. And I think that's why so many of us, me included, can kind of go down that road of, oh, it just seems like nothing can go right so quickly. We give that feeling, that energy to it. And it just, spirals out of control. And I think that I've worked really hard at like understanding my power of choice and understanding that, taking time to stop and to breathe and doing my daily meditation, but like giving myself more space, not necessarily space between those things because they happen simultaneously, but after that comes, just because it's what's, coming up as a thought is desired and expected doesn't necessarily mean that that needs to stay that way. So giving myself space between when the thought comes in and my instincts want to automatically jump on it, or my mind wants to run away with it, and just taking some time to really decide, make a choice. Do I want to cancel that out, or do I want to continue maybe a positive feeling on something? I just don't think that humans know the power of their own thoughts. And so, like the book said, we naturally depend on our actions to make things happen. Just what we do. And I think that, although important, new things and creation and what we truly desire isn't going to come from that space.
Yeah.
It's going to
Yeah.
come from, the thoughts.
And the reason for that goes back to the two laws. These laws are very connected because the reason for that is because it's at a low vibration, right? So I think everything you just said goes really well with what I was saying before too. When you're coming from the low vibration, and when you're acting from that vibration, then those are the thoughts you're going to naturally think. That's the vibration you're putting out. So you're going to get more of the same into your life because that's what you're attracting, and you're going to get the same results that you've been getting by doing the same things. And we were talking before about people say, and this is another paradigm that we have that, or a lot of people have, that you need to work hard and you need to be at it every single day. And what happens is when you are working hard, but you don't yet fuse with the belief of you having what you desire, then you're operating at a different frequency than what you want. So I'm just going to use an example here. Let's say that you want to make $1 million in your business. So that desire is up here at a high vibration. And right now, let's say your business is making like, I don't know, $100,000. Okay. So that's a different frequency. So if you start working toward that $1 million frequency from here, you don't match. So you're going to be working at this frequency and you're not going to be getting the results that get you here. It's going to take you a long time to get up there because you have to raise your vibration first. However, if you fuse with this belief up here, your $1 million belief first, and then you're operating at that frequency, because our beliefs run the show. 95% of what we do comes from our beliefs. So if you fuse with that belief that my business is $1 million business, and then you're operating at that frequency because it is truly your belief, then when you have an inspired thought, maybe you'll have an idea, maybe someone will come to you that's going to bring an opportunity, whatever it is, whatever the universe has brought to you, that action is going to align. You are at this frequency. So whatever you do is going to be easy. It's going to be fun. It's going to be effortless and enjoyable because you're at that frequency and you don't have to work hard. So we need to back it up and we need to live in our mind first until you fuse with the belief, until you feel it, and then take the action.
Yeah, I was actually just getting ready to say, I had made a note that far less action is needed and things are actually easier and more satisfying when you positively anticipate, which is what you're describing with our thoughts. I think we've even talked on previous episodes about being grateful, because grateful has a very grateful, that idea of gratitude has a very high vibration. So being grateful for things, even though maybe in your physical reality, it doesn't exist just yet. But having that gratitude, that anticipation, that expectation is not my favorite word, but having that gratitude in front, beforehand, it's like we said last week, all about that vibration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think you touched on, I love that quote, by the way. I love that. I think instead of, because we've had that episode on expectation before, and I know, we don't like to use that word. Rather than thinking of it as like what you expect, what would fit into your life? So right now, let's say, going back to my example, your business earns $100,000. Well, that's something that fits into your life because it's where you're at. So you need to get to the point that your belief is that, yeah, $1 million, that's normal. That is a norm for me. That is something that would show up for me, in my life. So rather than thinking about it as I expect it to come, it's something that could very easily fit into your life. Because if you're not operating at the frequency, it's not going to come.
Yeah. And another thing that came up for me a couple of times, but I keep forgetting it when I'm talking, is the idea that the universe is going to, bring whatever it is that we desire, but it's the what. It's not the how that we should be getting ourselves wrapped up in, because when we get into planning and action and trying to make things happen, we often get in our own way, get in the universe's way, and make it, more challenging and more difficult and a slower process. We don't have to be concerned with the how. We don't have to be concerned with how we're going to get to that $1 million business. We just have to, get out of our own way, get out of the divine's way, because otherwise we're making it much more complicated and difficult.
Yeah, that's a great point. I call it humanizing it when we try to sit there and plan it all out. And it's mechanical. And when you get into the mechanical, you're not in spirit. And regardless of what you believe in, we are spiritual beings and that we are a piece of the universe. We are souls. So when we operate in that mechanical, not saying it can't work, but like you said, you're getting in the way. You're getting in your own way, and letting the universe do its thing. So when you operate from the spirit side, that's when things can flow. You're letting the universe do its thing. You're living in the fourth dimension, which when you visualize, when you imagine, that's what you're creating, and you're creating it in the fourth dimension. So it's coming from spirit, and then you're bringing it to you. The more energy you give to it with your thoughts, and then you're going to have that inspired action. And when we think about it, when you're planning and living in the mechanical side, you have to motivate yourself. Usually people will have this like burst of excitement in the beginning, and then eventually you lose it and you have to motivate yourself to do X, Y, and Z. Well, that's because you're not in alignment with it. You don't want to have to do those things. But when you align first, you don't worry about the how. You let the universe figure it out for you. You work on just bringing yourself up in vibration, fusing with the belief. You're going to get an inspired thought, and inspiration is in spirit. So it's going to be something that you want to do. It's going to be effortless, and it's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, it just comes from our higher consciousness, but we live in our subconscious 95% of the time. And all of that is based off of past lives, past conditioning patterns, our ancestors, what's happened to us in the past. And creation is not going to come from, the past. It's gonna come now and from inspiration.
Yeah, if you do live in the past, and you're creating the past. So that's what's going to keep showing up for you.
Exactly. There was a paragraph that I said before we started that I wanted to read because I feel like it can resonate with pretty much actually every human. And I feel like these are things that each of us have some type of experience with. It's actually in the section on science of deliberate creation. Your hospitals are filled to the brim with those who are now taking action to compensate for inappropriate thoughts. They did not create the illness on purpose, but they did create it through thought and through expectation. And then they went to the hospital to take physical action to compensate. We see many people spending their days exchanging their action for money because the money is essential to the freedom of life in the society. And yet, in most cases, the action is not action and joy. It is an attempt to compensate for misaligned thought.
Yeah, I love that. It's so true. It took me back to 2 years ago. I realized I manifested getting the flu because I had been saying that I needed a break and I wasn't giving it to myself. So I got the flu. So I was down for a week, and it was just me in my bedroom. I wasn't taking care of my kids or dealing with school because I didn't want that. At that point, I didn't know how this all works. So I didn't want them to get the flu, and they didn't. No one in my family got it. But I didn't go to the doctor. I didn't do anything. I just relaxed. I did exactly what I needed to do. And at the time, again, I didn't know I was doing what I'm supposed to be doing. It's just, I hate going to the doctor. So, and I just wrote it out. And then in the week I was fine, but I actually enjoyed it. Like, I didn't enjoy feeling crappy, but I did what I needed to do. I binge watched Netflix like for a week straight. I slept. I just relaxed, and I felt like it was what I needed. And then I could go back to like being on my feet. So I don't know if that quite is what it's saying.
I think that's part of it. I think that you're bringing up something that's coming up for a lot of us is we don't take care of ourselves. We put others first. We put jobs first. We put, hard work first, which we were talking about before we went live too. And so if we don't take care of ourselves, in some way, if we don't take care of our own wellness, the universe will step in with an illness. It's like, okay, you're not getting it. You're not taking the sign. So here you go. Whether it's throwing your back out and being on your back for a week, or getting the flu and being down and out for a week, whatever it is, that how doesn't matter. It's going to happen. And so I think it speaks to something that we'll probably talk about in a future episode about the importance of self-care. But yeah, I think that's part of it. I mean, we go to doctors and we go to hospitals to help us because we have found ourselves in a position of need, in a position of illness, in a position of whatever it is, whether it's mental health, physical health, whatever it is. And that's come to be through not taking care of our thoughts, really. And so again, we don't know how things are going to happen, but we're putting these things out into the universe. And someone said, I was listening to something recently, and they said, well, how could you say like that someone has asked to get in a car accident? Or how can you say that someone asked for some kind of abuse or whatever? That's not what you're putting out into the universe. You're not putting out into the universe, I want to be abused, or I want to get in a car accident, but you're putting out into the universe thoughts, obviously negative thoughts and negative thinking. And then that vibration is, going out, and it's gonna naturally attract back to you. It just might not happen in the way that you would expect. And so these
Not sure if it's me or if it is Eileen who is frozen here. Okay, so I just found out that Eileen's power went out. So I'm going to wrap up with what I think she was saying there, and then we will finish this up. Anything else that we need to in another episode. So something that Eileen was saying about we go to doctors, we are covering up the symptoms. So, we go to the doctor because we have X, Y, and Z going on. And then the doctor gives us some medicine and we feel better, but then it might come back because we're manifesting it. So getting to the bottom, the root issue of whatever it is that caused us to feel that way. What thoughts were we thinking that attracted that situation to us? Because as she said, no, we're not going to purposely create negative situations in our life. But there's where that connection comes in between the law of attraction and the law of deliberate creation. They go hand in hand. Whatever you think about, those thoughts operate at a frequency. So you're going to be attracting whatever it is that you're thinking about, whatever frequency those thoughts are at, you're attracting other thoughts or situations that align with that. Oh, Eileen's back. Oh, power came back. Oh, good. I was just kind of continuing, I think, with what you were saying with the connection between the two laws and how symptoms are a cover up for what's actually going on at the root cause. And I was about to say how also so manifestation is about creating what you want. So the more you focus on what you want, it's going to bring it to you, even if you think it's out of reach. Like my example of $1 million business, it's not out of reach. Anybody can do it. So it's about fostering that belief, because the more you think about it, then the more you're going to believe it. But then because you're thinking those thoughts, you're going to be attracting other things at that frequency. So that's kind of where it all comes together. But I don't know. Go ahead. I don't. Do you remember what you were saying?
No, I do not.
No
I know
worries.
I had shared the hospital example and talked about how, thoughts become things. And if we don't take care of our thoughts, then the how and those things are going to be not what we desire, even though technically we're sending that desire out into the universe.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And something I think is good to point out here, whatever you're thinking about, the universe does not know the difference between saying, I do want this or I don't want this.
Oh, yes.
So making sure that whatever we are thinking about, we want. So if I am thinking about, I don't want my children to fight, the universe says, oh, your children fighting. Okay. And then that's what's going to show up for me if I give enough thought to it. So doesn't matter if you say, no, don't want this, just think about what you do want then instead.
Yes, absolutely. I talk to people about that a lot. In the beginning, I had to really figure out how I could word things differently, because it was like, well, I want to live pain-free. It's still, it's still that idea of pain, and so it's, trying to consciously change the way that we think. I want to live in ease. And but yeah, we definitely, it can't tell the difference between positive or negative or good or bad, because there really isn't. It just
Right.
is, and the universe also can't tell the difference between imagined and reality either. And so when we're living in constant stress, our natural instincts are going to step in and feel like it needs to step in and take care of us from, being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, even though we're not. Doesn't know the difference between real or imagined. So we have to really make conscious choices to not be in our subconscious, because it doesn't know the difference between, the fact that you're stressed out because your boss at work, and you're stressed out because you're, being chased by a lion. So it doesn't know the difference. And so we have to really, really be careful with our thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a life changer when you will see very quickly, even if you're able to change your thoughts a little bit at a time, you will see how quickly your life changes. It's really powerful. And if you're not sure, like some people come to me and will say, I don't even know what I want. I don't know what to manifest. If you just start thinking about joy and just have a goal that you want joy in your life, then anything that you find joyful, whether you know you find it joyful or not, that's what's going to come to you, because all you're thinking about is joy. So that's a good place to start too, if you're just not sure.
Yeah. And even gratitude, practicing gratitude is a great way to manifest more to be grateful for. You might not know what that is at the moment, but just practicing gratitude when you're not sure.
Yeah, that's great. So one little tip I just want to leave us with for anyone who wants to just see the power of manifesting quickly. Here's a tip. Set your intention on seeing, I'm going to say purple, like a purple car, or seeing something that you wouldn't see every day. I've seen people do this with flamingos. I've done it with like a blue bow. But set your intention. I would like to see a purple car. And then go out and you will see a purple car. Think about that purple car. And you know what? I did this yesterday. And I don't know if I took a picture because I was like, holy moly. Let's see. Can you see this?
Yes.
I saw two. Isn't that crazy? I mean, even I manifest all the time and I'm still like, oh my God. And it was literally a few, not even 10 minutes before I was talking about purple cars. And then I saw them when I was driving. So try it. And if you see, when you see your purple cars, post in our Facebook group that you saw a purple car.
Yeah, my kids like to manifest signs of, loved ones who, aren't with us in physical form. And they always like surprise themselves. They're like, oh my gosh, look what's over there. Like it'll be like the same exact car that pop-up had, same car, same color, same state license plate, even though we live in a different state. Um, they love doing that.
Yeah, it really does work. So
That's
yeah, give it a shot. If you just need, even if you just want to have some fun, or if you want to see this in action to try it, because it will change your life. So give it a shot.
Yeah, we had a lot of people asking about our manifestation episode and needing more clarification. So I'm glad that we were able to do this.
And if there are any other questions, let us know. We're both happy to help, for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything else to wrap it up?
Just our episodes release on Wednesdays, and so it'll be available on podcast and on our YouTube channel, and people can join our Facebook group. That's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. We're so grateful for each and every one of you, and we will see you next week.